Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are talking with a PokerGo commentator and a poker host, and also now the 2022 winner for Best Broadcaster. That's right, Mr. Jeff Platt. And I want to talk about, we talked about the award and winning the award and how much it meant to you, but I really want to talk about the 2021 WSOP because it's really kind of, in my opinion, why you won this award, because of the coverage that you gave. Like you said, Kara wasn't there. You were able to step in and help out a lot. So before we talk about the main event coverage, which I think was fun, but really kind of what were your expectations going into 2021? Was it initially, God, it's going to be a lot of work? Or, kind of what was your thought? Because other times, especially when we've been doing the online, it's really just kind of final table coverage online, open up a bottle of wine, just chill out, that kind of thing. Now it's a little bit more structured, et cetera, and a good 7 weeks, 8 weeks of this. Going into it, what was really kind of going through your mind of, boy, is this going to be a long summer, or were you excited, or all the above, or, what kind of went through it?
I was really excited for it just because, as we've discussed, we had all that time off. So it was the first time being back in 2 years or so. And I knew that had we gone ahead with the 2020 World Series, I would have had the opportunity to be sideline reporter, at least in the preliminary bracelet events. And so I'd seen the schedule that our executive producer, Dan Gotti, had laid out for me, and it seemed completely reasonable. I had 10 of the biggest preliminary bracelet events, a lot of the 10Ks, maybe the 50K. And so I was just really excited. I was really looking forward to just trying to improve in that sideline reporter role, which is something that I've worked on a lot over this last year. And so I was absolutely thrilled for it. Like, I was buzzing. I couldn't wait. And then I knew that schedule also allowed me the opportunity to play in some World Series of Poker events. And who doesn't like doing that,
Well, it's funny that you said that, because you got deep in a couple of the events, right? So, talk a little bit about that. And were people like buzzing, like, wait a second, you're playing too? That's what always everyone makes a funny scenario of. It was like, wait, you're playing as well. This is kind of cool, because in the 1,000 no limit hold'em double stack event, which was a $1,000 buy-in, people, I'm not talking that he just got deep, like, oh, he got into the top 100 or he cashed. You final tabled and actually finished fourth, over 160,000 on the cash. This was exciting for everyone. Everyone was buzzing about it. Everyone was talking about it. Twitter, text chat, chat, everything's going back. Everyone's like, Platt's still in this thing. Platt's at the final table. Holy cow. How much fun was it with that kind of buzz?
It was thrilling, and it was a wild ride. As you know, tournaments are such a roller coaster ride anyway, right? I mean, when you win a pot, you feel like you're on top of the world. When you lose a pot, you're absolutely devastated. You think you're going to be out next hand. To throw in the added element of having so much support, whether it be on social media and all the mentions on Twitter or all the DMs on Instagram, or whether to have it live at the Rio, where people who I don't know personally would just like come watch and come be on the rail and come yell like, let's go, Jeff, let's go. And when I'd walk through the hallways, everybody would fire me up. And it was a surreal experience, and something that I will remember forever. Like you said, fortunate to run deep. I mean, whenever you're walking into the Rio on day 4 of a World Series of Poker bracelet event, I mean, it feels special. My family came in town on the day of. Couple of my best friends from my hometown, Dallas, came in town. So it was simply special, and something that I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, almost 4,000 players. You finishing in fourth. Really incredible, and congratulations on all the buzz. I mean, it was just so much fun to, as a person, and anytime somebody gets deep, it's really fun to cheer them on, virtually. But in this specific situation, because please don't take this the wrong way, unexpected,
no, trust me, I don't. That's accurate.
I don't mean it meanly, but it was a lot of fun and a lot of buzz, and we were all excited about it. We're all talking about it. The Run Good guys were all like, come on, let's go.
Love that.
So it was a lot of fun. Let's talk about the World Series main event, because it became kind of, I don't want to say really like a meme, but it became really just like a funny running commentary among all the players. Hey, where's my Jeff Platt interview? Or finally got my Jeff Platt interview. I made my World Series. Basically, for everyone to understand is that as the World Series was going on, there was a little bit more live coverage, almost like that basketball feel. Hey, I'm talking to them in the middle of a quarter, which really might be on a break or in between hands or something like that. And you're able to talk to the guys or talk to somebody and talk to a player at that moment, which is a little different. We haven't seen that in really a long time. I think that Norm may have done that, but not necessarily on camera.
Right.
I know that I've been interviewed by Norm to talk about on camera afterward, and he'll say, "Hey, listen, I talked to such and such and got that." When I did some reporting several years back, same thing. I was able to talk to some of these guys. I would text them or call them or, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be on camera talking about you. What do you want to say?" But you were able to really get them, and a lot of it, obviously, not very scripted. You just grabbed them, and so what they have to say. How was that experience, and did it kind of take a life of its own?
It really did. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Norm. He and Dan Gotti had this vision of just getting out there, of creating this link between the viewers and the players, and trying to give the viewers a little bit more of an insight of what it's like to be at the World Series of Poker main event. And I think that Dan and our director, Jason Wald, executed that vision really well. It started, Bernard, as, day 1A, we're in our production meeting, and Dan's like, yeah, and then, maybe you do some reports by the main stage. Maybe we do one interview, and then maybe we just get out there like once or twice, into the field and talk to a couple different players. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And so we did it, and it just something clicked, and it just worked. And of course, it took some getting used to the timing. You never want to take a player away from his or her hand in the World Series of Poker main event. That's way too valuable. Didn't want to influence the action in any way. But other than that, we thought this is really working. And so I went, Bernard, from originally having like story ideas. I could do a profile piece here. I could do this there. I could do this on the main stage too. This was the whole thing. Instead of once every 2 hours going out into the field, it was 3 times an hour talking to somebody in Amazon or in Pavilion or in Brasilia. So like you said, it did take on a life of its own, and the players were so unbelievably accommodating, and that helped me so much in my job.
Yeah, like I said, jokingly, people were waiting. Hey, where's my Jeff Platt?
Really were,
yeah. And that obviously makes it fun and creates the interest. And for people who didn't know what that meant, like what's a Jeff Platt interview, that kind of, like I said, it just really kind of steamrolls on itself and really helps. What were your thoughts of the World Series itself? Obviously, we talked a little bit about it in the first half of the show with the monumental execution by Jack Eiffel and his team. But kind of what's from your perspective, obviously reporting on it, et cetera. What did you feel about it?
I thought it was run really well. And you also mentioned this, that of course the opening weekend is going to deal with some logistics issues, some slowdowns, especially when they implemented the vaccine mandate and you had to get those forms approved, and the international forms were not the same as the American forms. So it was going to take them some time to get the hang of it. But I thought that they just did a phenomenal job. Am I a little biased? Sure. But we also don't think about the staff shortages that they had to go through. Remember, this is usually an event that's held in the summer, and you usually get so many people, teachers, for example, who are off during the summer and they just come deal. You didn't have that in the fall of 2021. And you just had to struggle with shortages and hiring new people, and dealers quit and cashiers quit, and you have to bring in new people. And I thought they did an excellent job from a logistics standpoint. And then the tournament itself, the main event, I thought it was really, really entertaining. Everybody, as you know, was so happy to be back. And I think that came across, and it created a really lively atmosphere and environment. And it was one that was really enjoyable for everybody that was involved. By the time we hit the final table, Corey Aldemir he just put on a show. And you had that to go alongside the narrative of Papa OMC, who is just a massive superstar in South America at the final table as well. George Holmes, an amateur, really just plays with his buddies at home in Atlanta for the most part. I thought it was a really intriguing main event with a lot of fun characters and fascinating storylines. So I think everything just worked out really well.
Yeah, it really reminded me a lot of the year we were covering it for ESPN and Inside Deal when Joe Cada went
Yeah.
heads up with Darvin Moon. It
Yeah.
really, really reminded me of that, because you have the pro, right? Joe Cada, young pro, Joe Cada, Karai Aldemir, and the local guy who liked to play,
Yeah.
really in all respects is just there to have fun, in Darvin Moon / George Holmes. And as they're playing heads up, you just assume that the
Yeah.
young gun is going to eventually win. And then as the game goes on, all of a sudden, the unknown starts getting more and more chips. And it gets to the point where you're like, I still remember it. I remember turning to ESPN's Andrew Feldman. I remember turning to him when Darvin takes basically over a 2-1 chip lead and go, oh my God, he's going to win.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to win. And people talked about at the time, like, this would be the next Chris Moneymaker boom, because it's such a, et cetera, et cetera. And, the Maryland Logger, and by the way, rest in peace, as he was in that memorandum as well. And really good person, really good. I got to know him very, very well over the years. He came to a couple of my events, and just a really good guy. But, George Holmes takes over the chip lead a little bit. And all of a sudden you go,
wait a minute. Yeah.
What's going on here? I remember talking with Karai during my interview with him, and he admits it during the tournament. He's like, oh no, I don't feel like I have any pressure at all. And then he said after, he goes, oh, I felt a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to say it. But he knew, I mean, he had nothing to, I don't want to say he had nothing to win. He had everything to win. He had to win the main event, but there was a lot more. If he loses, oh my goodness, how can you lose?
Yeah.
Whereas if George loses, well, you're the amateur, you're supposed to lose, that kind of thing. So there was a lot of pressure on him, but obviously Karai came through at the end. But what an incredible, and what a great way to finish, like that great last hand. And I mean, everything, it was just a really, really good way to finish 2022. What's amazing is that Hossein Ensan was the longest World Series main event champion in history, in the sense of he held on to the title the longest, right? Yeah, because, it got extended out, et cetera. When I interviewed Hossein afterward, we were jokingly saying, he goes, if there isn't one in 2020, I'll be 2 years, that kind of thing.
You're like, well,
right. But because Karai's championship was so much later in the year, and then we're going to bring in 2022 so quickly, or back to the original schedule, he's going to be the shortest in history. Yeah. We are right around the corner. It's incredible. Only 3 months away. I mean, it's amazing to talk about, right? Like 3 months away until the World Series comes around. What's kind of your thoughts and expectations as we are moving? We're coming from the rear. 2005, it was actually my first year ever playing in the World Series main event. I was fortunate to touch the horseshoe as well, because the main event that year, the final 27.
Oh, right.
Back to the horseshoe and played in Benny's bullpen. So I'm very honored to be able to say that I touched both in that year. And now we're going to go to a new place. We're going to go to Bally's in Paris, and now it's technically Horseshoe and Paris, because they renamed it. Kind of what's your thoughts about it and this new home for the World Series, and hopefully for a long time?
I think it'd be easy for me to say, selfishly, as somebody who lives in Vegas and I'm out here in Summerlin, that I just wish we were at the Rio from here until the end of time, right? Because the Rio is just easy. I know that the Rio has parking. I know that the Rio has room to accommodate everyone, and boom, we're done. But I think, Bernard, that the World Series of Poker needs to have a presence on the Las Vegas Strip. And it's about time for that to happen. There's so much space in the Paris and Horseshoe convention centers combined. I think it will work out really, really well. Are some of the logistics going to be tough, like especially for locals who have to drive there and to deal with strip traffic and to maybe have to park further away? Sure. Is it going to be worth it in the end? I think that the answer is undoubtedly yes. I've seen a couple of the layouts. It's going to be, I think it's really going to work. And some people are like, well, it's so separated with Paris and with Horseshoe. It's not really going to be that way. It's not like, Bernard, when you play 6 levels of the 1500 over at Paris, and then they're like, okay, we got to move everybody over to Horseshoe. They're going to separate it very, very well. And our whole TV setup is just going to be in one convention center. I think I think it's going to be great. I love the added element of rebranding Bally's as the Horseshoe. You said it, the Horseshoe as this unbelievable World Series of Poker history. And so overall, I'm really excited for it. And I kind of love the quick turnaround. You know, we didn't get the World Series for so long. So to get two in 6 or 7 months, I think is pretty cool. And, you know, we're taping this towards the end of February, and it's like, oh my God, the schedule is about to be released, and we're just almost going to be there talking to each other in Vegas. That's really cool for me.
So knowing that, I mean, I know there's some of the details you can't go into because they're somewhat confidential, but if I'm correct to say, the Horseshoe and Paris ballrooms, they're not next to each other, right? I mean, it's not like they're connected to some way. Like, you know, you could imagine that they were like the convention centers were back together, and in the back they were connected. So, so for those people who haven't been there, I used to actually go to Paris and Bally's a lot, you know, decades ago. They blew a hole in one of the walls at Bally's and then connected it with Paris. So you could just technically from the casino floor, just walk right over to Paris through some shops and restaurants, and boom, you're right on the Paris casino floor. Not a short walk, but in the sense of if you're in Vegas and have to walk from Bally's to Aria, it's not that long of a walk. Obviously, it's fairly quick. But I would venture to say, if I was to guess, it's not like you're going, like you said, it's not like first half of the day you're in one area and then you got to go to the area. One full day will be in one place. Maybe day 3 or day 4, maybe in the other one, but you'll always stay in the same place. I think the logistics will be when, okay, you get knocked out of the morning event. Where's the afternoon event? You know, do I really have to walk all the way over there, and et cetera? And you know, it's one thing if you make a final table and now you got to walk back to play day 1 of the next event. Listen, that's a high class problem. You know what I mean? That's a high, you know, you final table and now you got to come all the way back. Oh, boo hoo, right? But like if you played in, I think it would be really silly if you played the first 10 levels, go on dinner break, and now you got to move all the way over there. That's a little bit annoying kind of thing. So I'm sure they're thinking about it. I'm sure they're talking it through and figuring it all out. And it'll be very interesting to see. I've been in those conventions. I've been in Bally's. I haven't been in Paris's convention center. So I'm very curious to see how it'll all play out. And like you said, it'll be interesting. There are a lot of casinos and hotels in that area. Obviously, Bally's and Paris both. There's Planet Hollywood, which is right around the corner. Caesars is right across the street, and et cetera. So there's a lot of Caesars properties that are right there. And of course, there are a ton of other properties. The Arias and the MGMs and all these kind of things are right there as well. So Bellagio is right there. So it's a good spot for it to be. Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's a 10 to 15 minute walk from one convention center to the other. And like you said, it's all indoors too. You don't have to worry about stepping outside when it's 110 degrees. I think it's going to be pretty easy. I mean, all the cash games, all the daily deep stacks, all the satellites are going to be in one of the rooms, and probably the day ones for, the big field events are going to be in one, like probably in Paris. And then as you advance, which I think is cool, if you make day 2 of a tournament, you're probably going to be going to the Horseshoe segment of the World Series of Poker. So I think, like you said, that they've thought this through. They don't want to interrupt somebody midday in their tournament and have them take that walk unless it's absolutely necessary. Some of these events, like the big 50s of the world, the Colossuses of the world, whatever they call, I'm sure they'll have some massive opening event, will probably require day 1s to be in both convention centers, right? But when they can do it logistically, I think they'll separate them really well.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. It'll be exciting. Everything is new. Some people don't like change. Tough. Nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. Jeff Platt, 2021 or I guess 2022 GPI best broadcaster and great friend of the show. Thanks so much for coming on, sharing your experiences about the 3rd annual Global Poker Awards. And hey, the World Series is coming up. Get psyched, brother.
Always enjoy chatting with you, Bernard, and hope to see you in a couple months. Thanks for the time.
Excellent. Jeff Platt here. As he said, just won Best Broadcaster at the Global Poker Awards and commentator and host on PokerGo. Stay tuned next week. As we mentioned, we are going to be honoring National Women's Month, and we are going to be kicking it off with Plan founder Lena Evans, and also we're going to be having other guests on, like kind of England, Laura Eisenberg, who won the 2021 ladies event, and more. So stay tuned. And as always, may you always go in with the best hand, and may you never get unlucky. Good night, everybody.